with liberty and justice for all.
Mission with community involvement, we
will empower learners to become contributing members of our changing world.
I need a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Anderson.
I'll second.
And second by Freed. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Brian Freed.
Here.
Angie Anderson.
Here.
Jody Thomas.
Late, but here.
Abby Brown.
Here.
And Ray Mullins is absent, so I need a motion to excuse.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Motion by Freed, second by Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, welcome visitors section, and we want to thank media for being in attendance tonight to report on everything for the constituents and stakeholders who aren't able to be here in person. And then a reminder, the board cannot discuss any item not listed on the agenda. A person wishing to speak needs to be signed in with the board secretary and then recognized. Once recognized, they will be allowed to speak in the time allotted, dependent on the number of individuals signed in. Tonight we have 3 signed in, so we can do, I don't know, what do you think? 3 to 5? Would you guys be okay with that? Okay. We have 25 set aside, but do you guys all want?
We just need a few.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So we'll go with that. And we follow board policy 213 and Robert's Rules of Order when conducting our meetings. So I have Mike.
Well, I'm speaking tonight on my own behalf, not my employer's. I was against the policy of having anybody other than trained police officers carry weapons on school property, but regardless of my view, I would still side with the CCSD stakeholders for accountability due to the way they've been treated, as they have sought to have some conversation with you about their concerns. When they have asked questions or raised concerns, they've been met with a resistance to answer questions. Responses have ranged from saying that if they aren't in agreement, they can run to the school board. This kind of behavior is concerning in a public meeting where people should be able to express disagreement in a civil manner. For me, the last straw was when you read your statement in which you threatened legal action against Jocelyn Rigger for statements that she never actually made. How else should we see this other than as an attack on her character in order to silence her? The way I've observed some of you interacting with your constituents over the last several months is concerning. I understand you're frustrated that this group continues to be present at board meetings to voice their concerns. This opposition has somewhat been created by dismissiveness of their questions and views, belittling attitude towards them, and as of last month, threats. I'm not sure if you think these tactics will silence them or not, but it actually has the opposite effect, because the more you do these things, the more the opposition continues to grow. I've observed over the last several months you've pushed this gun policy forward even to the point of spending money to begin training staff before you knew if this policy was even feasible. This was in spite of voices of concern and warning from stakeholders, imploring you to place a pause on the policy until you could guarantee coverage. For these reasons, there are a number of us who are having difficulty trusting that this board will consider all potential implications before making decisions in the future. But I hope you can prove us wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Jennifer?
I've observed in the April, May, and June board meetings, as well as email communication, that certain board members, members of the administration, and the school's legal counsel are not always respectful, kind, or open-minded towards community members in your choice of word or tone of voice. I was particularly disappointed to hear the inflammatory and inaccurate statement about Jocelyn Rigger that Board President Jody Thomas read on behalf of School Counsel Steve Avery at the June 19th board meeting, especially because this statement was left unchallenged by all members of the board and administration. As public figures, people will disagree with some of your decisions, but you still have the responsibility to interact respectfully with them. Being willing to engage in conversation and share information builds trust and consensus. Instead, you have, at times, been hostile and defensive. It's unacceptable to threaten legal action against a parent who's simply trying to get information about how the school will protect her and all of our children. We consulted a lawyer, and neither our statements nor Jocelyn's meet the definition of being defamatory or slanderous. I'm requesting that Mr. Avery, the school board, and the school administration issue a sincere, specific, and public apology to Mrs. Rigger. Owning your part in what has become an embarrassment to our community would go a long way towards rebuilding trust. Thank you for your time.
Okay, and then this is just a general reminder that during these comments you aren't supposed to call anyone out by name, specifics, because of board policy 213, and defamatory comments will be subject to legal action. So, but thank you, Jennifer. Christina.
In relation to Mike and Jennifer's statements, mine probably isn't as kind, although not defamatory or requiring legal action. I wasn't going to speak tonight, and I didn't send the following statement in an email ahead of time to the board because, as you have made abundantly clear over the last several months, this board does not seem to care what members of this community think, and so to reach out ahead of time would have been pointless. I do, however, have this statement in which I don't have questions or need an answer from you or your attorney. On October 26, 2022, in relation to that at the time just updated weapons policy, I stated in a public Facebook post, I know this is uncomfortable to talk about. The people on the board and the superintendent are people in our community that we know and like, that we see at the grocery store, at church, school, and sporting events. But if we don't ask the hard questions, who will? At that time, my belief was that although the opinions in our community were different, at our core, we are all good people who just want the best for our kids and school district, and together, this board and our community could work together. I felt it was important to share that portion so that you and others can hopefully understand the amount of disbelief and disappointment I felt when this board allowed the reading of a statement that I quote, Steve Avery helped to develop. You had the choice to say to yourselves, this statement goes too far, this statement isn't true, this statement attacks one person who is speaking on behalf of a group. This statement attacks a community member, and chose not to. You had the choice to tell Mr. Avery this does not reflect the people you choose to be. You had the choice to address CCSD stakeholders for accountability instead of just Ms. Riggert, and you chose not to. You have the choice to carry the values that our schools hope to instill in our children, kindness, and you chose not to. You had the facts and truth available to you, and you chose not to use it. Instead, singling out Mrs. Riggert, repeatedly putting her name alone in a public statement filled with lies. At every step, you had an option to choose better and repeatedly decided not to. As a board and administrators in our district, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
May I respond?
Sure.
So what I will say is that I appreciate all of you coming here and publicly saying these things. What I will say is that while there have been things said publicly, there has been a lot of things that maybe not everybody knows that were said non-publicly. Okay? So there is a public chat group or social media group. There's also a private one. Now that's as far as I'm going to go. Okay? But I want everybody to know there is a private group that has not been kind. And I will say, in the words of Jesus, is that you should get the plank out of your own eye before you worry about the speck in your neighbor's. Thank you.
Anyone is welcome.
Let's
to join
move
that
on
group.
to the consent agenda. Board, do you want to take a minute to look over the consent agenda? And if anyone has any questions, statements on the consent agenda. I would just like to say Lori Davis and prayers going out to her and her family, and thank her for all the years of service, and her retirement wasn't planned at this time, but I'm really praying for her and her family during this time.
Yeah, a lot of people have some really serious things on their heart and on their plate these days.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, motion by Patty Brown.
I'd second.
And second by Reed. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Let's move on to communications and reports. Principals, Brian?
All right. I don't have anything too much to add to my report, other than registration will be opening up on August 3rd, so excited to get kids registered and kind of see where we're at. And I know you can tell it's getting closer to August because the phone is starting to ring a little bit more and more with people wanting to enroll and whatnot, so that's always exciting. Other than that, we'll have some more detailed number information about the conditions for learning survey, but when I got the data, I just wanted to throw that in there because I was just really excited to see how well our students have kind of scored themselves with that. Otherwise, we can talk about it at the agenda part, but a lot of the additions for handbooks, pretty minor and clerical things throughout both of them that I can hit on when we get to that point, if you guys would like. Otherwise, you guys have any questions for me?
Thank you, Brian Christensen at the
You
elementary school.
bet.
And this is exciting. Krista Miller, our new middle school principal, her first report.
I don't have anything to add to the report either. I'll highlight that it's been really great. I have met with all staff members the past couple weeks. Everybody's come in to kind of do a meet and greet and just talk about the upcoming school year. So,
That was quick.
yeah,
You got it fast.
it's been good though.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, is the lighting project, is it on time?
It's going to start.
Starting that here this week.
And was that when they were supposed to start?
They ran into a couple issues.
Hang-ups.
Yep.
Okay. So we're not worried though?
No.
Okay. Look at all the parts.
We're
that are
just
gonna-
really wishing, hoping it doesn't turn into a science room project.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be.
It won't.
Okay.
Officer Gannon is here, and I'm going to let him talk a little bit about the new program that he's looking to launch here this school year.
Good evening. How are we doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. So I passed out your NOVA stuff. Okay. And this is the program that I found that can actually replace DARE. Now we all know DARE is drug and alcohol awareness, resistance awareness. So DARE didn't really get into principles and how to be a good citizen. And it didn't really nurture our youth. So the purpose of this program is to nurture youth to seek positive opportunities for them, internalize good values, and accept accountability for their choices. So not only, if you look through this, not only does it cover drug and alcohol awareness, but it covers choices and how to make good choices. And so it starts in the 5th and 6th grade. It's a 13-week course for them. And then it'll transition to the 7th and 8th grade with approximately, I think it's 4 or 5 week program for them. And that might be implemented with Mrs. Miller and I. We'll just have to figure how that's going to schedule out. And but we hope to implement the 5th and 6th grade by the first of the year. My training is going to be pretty extensive, although it is online because I can't go to Utah and go through their program. I'm going to do it online. And it's about 100, I think in here it tells you, it's about 101 modules online, so it's going to take me a few days. And then after that, in October, there's a 4-hour video chat, if you would say, with that. And I would be giving instructions to other instructors so they can evaluate me, and then I would be an instructor after that. I just really, I've been thinking and trying to research other programs that can replace DARE, because I didn't think DARE really did a good job influencing our youth. It really just made our youth more knowledgeable about drugs and alcohol, but it didn't go into choices and how to own your choices. So this is what I'll be doing, and we've talked to Tom and, of course, Kim before, and Kim was on board with it, and she liked it. So continuing with this. Yeah, and then next week, I want to thank you all too for this opportunity. Next week, I go to an advanced SOR school, which is School Resource Officer School. It's an advanced class for me, and then also it's a 2-day class for adolescent mental health. So really doing a good dive on that, which I think will really help me when I start teaching the 5th and 6th grade come the first of the year. So Chief James and I really wanted to be able to start this program, get our feet wet the first year, figure out what we needed, and then we're able to come back this year and combat and handle those problems and really teach our youth not just the resistance of drugs, but how to be good citizens, know what your choices are, and actually be motivated in that. And so I just want to say thank you, and this is what we're going to be doing with Mrs. Miller, and she was on board as well, and I'm just happy to do it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on that? You got my email. It's a lot. You don't have to go through everything, but
some of these, it's like amazing, and I know you picked NOVA because it's like perfectly aligned with our board goals, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
It sounds great.
I know the soft skills and stuff that we talk about as our board goals and stuff. So,
just report back periodically and let us know what you're learning and how it's going.
Where is Advanced SRO School at?
I have to go all the way to Burlington.
Really?
For 5 days.
Okay.
So, keep me in your prayers. It's a long day.
Sure will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Up north in Minnesota. Thank you, Sergeant Cannon.
Report from IT Director Bringle. New firewall is in, and it's just a matter of getting everything timed in. We experienced a few little hiccups today. Joyce gave me the look. But yeah, it's there's the quirks we got to work out with it. Summer tech cleanups in full swing, moving old wires, encasing wires hanging from the ceiling, just trying to clean some things up. Chromebook cleanup is almost finished, and the new ones, which are cycled in, should be here next week. From Food Service Director Kara Jacobson. Summer lunch was done on June 30th. Numbers were down a little bit from last year, still serving over 130 kids a day. Also sent home right around 100 breakfasts a day as well. Last year, as a district, we offered free breakfast to all students. Once again, we'll be doing that for the upcoming school year. We'll also be offering families with reduced lunches, free lunches. Currently, if a family qualified for reduced lunches, then they had to pay 40 cents per child daily to eat and 30 cents for breakfast. The school's nutrition fund will be absorbing that expense. Wow. So that's a great service to our students. And lastly, from Kara, the summer lunch program was reviewed by the state consultant Deanne Murphy and was found to be compliant in all areas. And Kara would like to once again applaud her staff for their attention to detail. So some very special people that work in our food service program do a remarkable job. From transportation, from Rachel Mallory, she was at transportation conference this week, getting vehicles clean for the new year. And you may have noticed on your way in, the bus barn is getting a little bit of a facelift as well. So that parking lot and area is off limits, so we get that all taken care of. But they're making great progress. They just started on it Thursday or Friday and got it. I mean, they're coming along, so it's a very quick crew. Building and grounds from Mr. Fiddler and Mr. Hodgman. Building cleanup is progressing. Here at the high school, they're working where they can. A lot of different things going on with windows and doors and science rooms and whatnot, but they're getting hallways and rooms cleaned out as they can. Gym floors are done. Window installation is moving along. and the west bathrooms are very close to being completed. Light installation is slated to begin soon. Hopefully, it will begin later this week at the middle school. Did run into a little bit of a hang-up with some of the retrofit lighting to go into the library and bathrooms, because those are solid ceilings. They're not solid, the sheetrock, they're not the drop ceiling. So the fixtures that they had thought they were going to use won't work, so they're looking for a plan B on those. So, but the rest of the building, the classrooms, the hallways, since those are drop ceilings, they'll get going on that. And told me today that they would have those parts done by the time school starts. So they'll continue to problem solve for the library and restrooms. Tuck pointing is very close to being completed here at the high school. Another crew that's just been working their tail off, and very, very close, very close. East steps were ripped out today, as were the sidewalks. Retaining wall will be getting started here soon. Bus barn work and all of that, as you can see. And today we were able to move teachers into the science classroom. So that is a need for applause. So what was supposed to be a shorter term project turned into a much longer one. But we moved in, and the teachers were all smiles today as they were putting stuff away. So, smiles because they're in there, but also a little overwhelmed with when they remembered how much they had packed away and how they had to find places for all that. So yeah, those are the direct reports. As far as just one thing I want to mention, I've been talking with Officer Gannon and Chief James, in regards to looking at some other options for SRO coverage, maybe looking at retired law enforcement. So we're having those conversations. We can come up with another person to have on campus, whether it be here or at the middle school, elementary, so that we can cover that. Now, I will be honest, those answers and those options are not readily available, so it's going to continue to be a conversation that we have to try to address some of that as we move forward with looking at school safety overall. So wanted to throw that in there.
Thanks for checking into that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I'm assuming there's a lot of details, kind of
Yes.
like we talked about,
Yeah.
finer stuff. So thank you both for looking into that.
Oh, and tell Kara thank you and her staff they always do such a nice job.
Will do.
Yeah.
That's just amazing. It's amazing that we'll be able to, just to reiterate it, free lunches for families who qualify for free and reduced, or for reduced. That's amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. Any questions for Tom on this first superintendent report? Okay, we're going to move on to policy. Clerical changes and edits as recommended by IASB Policy Manual Review by Siobhan Schneider, who's IASB Policy and Legal Services Director, which were received on December 22nd, 2021. We need to affirm Policy 600, Goals and Objectives of the Education Program, 601.1 School Calendar, 601.2 School Day, 602.1 Curriculum and Development, 602.2 Curriculum Implementation, 602.3 Curriculum Evaluation, 602.4 Pilot Experimental Innovative Projects, 603.1 Basic Instructional Program, 603.2 Summer School Instruction, and 603.3 Special Education. Those were special education ones, a very lengthy policy.
I make a motion to approve those policies.
Okay, so I have a motion by Anderson.
A second.
And a second by Patty Brown. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Policies are affirmed. Moving on to new business, item A, discussion of action concerning CES, CMS, and WHS handbooks for the 23-24 school year. And that's all.
Yep.
So we were emailed those because they were huge.
All right, I will make a motion to approve. Does anybody have any comments they would make about any of the changes in the handbook from the school themselves?
Because there's not.
All right. I will make a motion to approve those handbooks for the 23-24 school year.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a motion by Anderson, second by Freed. So then just for anyone listening or anyone in attendance, like Brian Christian mentioned earlier, it was just a lot of clerical changes, one position here, one position there.
And there may be some more changes coming this school year based on as they
As we get more information.
from the new some of the
Yes.
legislation that was changed as they.
Yeah.
But we have not been given any guidance on that
Okay.
yet or any direction, so, yeah, handbooks are pretty similar to what they were last year.
at
It's
this
just
point.
a matter of clerical, and like I mentioned with the high school one, it was just a little addition to the academic integrity and including AI.
Yep.
So just some verbiage in there for that. So
Okay.
otherwise, nothing major.
Those
All
are
right.
long things, but okay. Going back to that, we have a motion by Anderson and a second by Freed. Any other questions or discussion on that item? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item B, discussion of action concerning district goals for the 23-24 school year.
In your packet are the three district goals, as you guys had approved last year. In there for you to refer to. I didn't know if there were any changes or additions or alterations you may want to make, or if you want to continue on with these ones.
I'm good continuing with these.
Yep, I agree.
If somebody sees something they want to change.
That's fine.
I feel like they're still applicable, and a lot of the stuff that we did, it was before like the AEA and the state started to come out with new programs and initiatives that were in alignment with these. So I feel like we were a little bit ahead of the trend, and
Yeah.
so they're still applicable.
And I think all three buildings have taken steps in the right direction to address these goals and to work towards these goals. And I think there's still work to be done. So I think they're still beneficial to have in place for our district as we continue to move forward.
Agreed. I'll make a motion that we continue on with these three goals.
Okay, I have a motion by Anderson to keep the current district goals,
I'll second it.
and a second by Freed. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? District goals are approved. Item C, discussion of action concerning the official newspaper for the 23-24 school year. So this is a requirement by the state of Iowa to release minutes and notices of meetings in a paper. And so luckily we have a paper here in town that is able to is our media outlet to be able to do that.
I make a motion to choose Cherokee Chronicle. Yes.
Okay.
I second.
Motion by Freed and second for Patty Brown. For the Chronicle Times to be the official newspaper for the next school year. Any discussion?
How many days a week are they going to go to?
And Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to print a physical paper every Friday, but all subscribers have immediate access to online content, and the website is updated more frequently than just Friday.
I didn't know which, I had heard there was going to go one day. I just
Yes.
So if we have something to release,
If you-
when we do.
Yep, if you get
would be
it to
nice.
us.
Most people are going to read it online anyway.
Yes.
So
And that's the
fine.
trend that we've noticed, is that digital news is just reaching a wider audience. So we try to get things on the website as soon as.
So basically, the website will just be kind of as soon as it's available, not necessarily a Wednesday
Right.
online
Yes.
and a Friday online. And
Yes.
Friday. It'll just be as
Yes.
soon as it's available.
And there is an app that has been developed, and I think it's being reviewed now to go into the Google Store and the Apple Store, and that will push out like text alerts, kind of like when the school.
Notifications and
Yes.
things.
So that way people will
Okay.
know breaking news stories or new posts or whatever.
Okay.
Another app.
That's my brain. You gotta delete your other solitaire game, make some space.
I don't have any trouble with that. I can space my phone.
Yeah, so anything, just reach out to us and we can work with you guys.
Thank you, Erin.
Yep. And then on our end, we just have to notify the people. It doesn't have to be published like 4 days in advance, as long as we notify.
Yep, and
Yeah,
Joyce and Cindy can work out all
Yes.
that
Yep.
stuff.
Just for anyone curious if that would affect anything with the
Yep.
notice of being concerned.
Oh, so wait a minute. So the 4 days wasn't necessarily a law. It was because of when they printed?
No, that's open meetings, but I don't think it has, from my understanding, it doesn't have to be within the print date, right?
There are certain regulations about legals.
But we
and-
just, as long as we release it to them,
Yes.
was my understanding.
But we still have to give so much notice,
Yes,
don't we?
yes, we still have to do that,
Right,
but going to 1 day of print
Okay.
doesn't.
Doesn't make it longer?
Yes, because,
Okay.
yes.
Because the
and
online
if
is
for some
available.
reason, like if you had something, like an emergency meeting or whatever, the paper would obviously step up and try to spread that out online as much as possible.
Oh, like send out some.
In the app.
You know,
In the app.
And
you
that,
know, it's not often that you have emergency
No.
meetings, but you know, we'll do what we can to work with you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I had, did we vote on that one?
No,
So I
believe-
have a motion by Freed, second by Patty, and then that was their question. Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chronicle Times is our newspaper. And item D, discussion of action concerning legislative priorities for RSAI for the 23-24 school year.
Yep.
So that's the Rural School Association of Iowa, and they're great advocates for smaller
And we
schools.
just approve these. We don't have to prioritize them like we did the others, right? Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could do it kind of however we want. I don't know if we each want to pick one, or if you want to come up with kind of something.
They align very closely with ISB ones.
So,
So, I mean, very closely.
But really, this one is just approving what they already have. We are not,
So we could
So-
pick out some.
Oh, we could pick out our top.
Our top ones, and then I can go through and
Okay.
how highly we would like that.
Okay.
At the top of their priority.
well, I definitely
so,
think.
you know, ISB is going to advocate for certain things through their platform.
But these are
RSAI
more
is going to,
Focusing in on rural.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
More
special
schools like
needs of,
this.
Yep.
yeah, okay.
I mean, obviously SSA is a big one,
Yeah.
especially with vouchers. Staff shortage. I think it's an issue for rural schools, but I think our district, we are pretty lucky compared to some other rural districts.
For sure.
But I do think it's a problem for rural schools.
Do we, for us specifically, the formula transportation equity, we don't really have an issue with that since our district is small,
Right.
right?
Right. There are some other smaller districts that have a much larger.
Oh,
district
right. So,
to
but
cover,
for
so
us
it's a higher-
specifically, this isn't a big
Yes.
concern for
Not
us.
as big as, no.
So that one, and then
Sioux Central maybe so.
Sioux Central,
Yes.
Ridge, River
Yeah.
Valley, some of those districts where it's a very
Yeah.
expansive amount of square mileage.
MMC would be
Mental health obviously is a huge thing we need
Yeah.
to stay on top of.
Quality preschool.
Quality preschool.
Quality preschool is a big one, especially.
Let you talk, sorry.
No, we want your input too, because obviously you're the professional. We're just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that you mentioned, the SSA, making public schools a priority, not, not necessarily the private school, mental health, quality preschool, education staff shortages, which impacts the quality of education, and keeping that as a high priority is very important. And then also school safety, we continue to work on that. Those
Yeah.
are the ones that I think
Well,
far
and I think that-
rise to the top.
And
I agree.
local board authority helps with our safety that we
Yep.
can.
Yep. Yeah, that one too, because I mean, it's not one size fits all for any district.
Right, every
in the
community is
state.
different.
And, say going back to COVID stuff, what Des Moines had to do isn't the same. As what we had to do, so.
Brian, Patty, any insights?
I'd like to see these schools weigh in on the mandatory retirement for officers. It's still 66, right? 65, and you have to retire. Is that it? For police officers?
I don't know, because I don't think anyone's ever lasted that long in a sheriff. So,
But is it accurate that an SRO has to be your national police officer? So that retirement would be part of that. It seems to be creating.
That's one of the avenues we talked about.
So,
is
right, exactly. Okay, so you
opening-
retire at age 55. Now, the deputies can retire at age 52.
Right.
Okay? Just because that's how they negotiated with the state. Okay? Troopers are different.
Yep.
They have their own world. I don't worry about that. But officers, we retire at age 55 normally. And that's, if you go past 55, sometimes it's not worth it because you're not gaining anything in either.
That's correct. Yeah.
So what we're running into, though, is physically after 55, it's not just a physical breakdown, but mentally you're just done. And so we're running into problems with, with officers that are 55 or older wanting to do this again. And so that's why it's hard to find them.
As an
Like
SRO,
burnout?
Yeah.
but as an SRO, would you say, because you were in non-school work before, more public, like, right, as an
I was
officer?
on the street, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So would you say mentally, after 55, is this any better mentally or is it worse mentally?
I tell you, I had a really eye-opening experience when I came here. I don't know how these teachers do it every day. I don't know how the staff does it every day. They are blessed with patience. Coming in as a law enforcement officer, you really have to dial it back. And you really have to learn how to speak with kids. And that was part about last year with me, just getting my feet wet and learning how to speak with children and all the different, and age appropriately, all the way to seniors. And that's part of the training that we get. I just think after age 55, are you going to get officers that were just on the street, that were never in SRO before, and now they're retired, mentally, you might have maybe 20% that might want to do it. It's going to be a low percentage.
But you have to learn a whole new job.
It is.
In essence.
But
Totally a
if
different job.
they get aged out,
Yeah.
they're not an option for school.
Well, no, because you're still certified.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
you
your
can't be
certification
65.
doesn't go away.
You can't be
Unless it's-
65 and do this job.
Right, I don't think so. So you got that 10-year window. Yeah.
And and it wouldn't be for everybody, but the shortage of SROs is so significant across the state.
Well, nation.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
We were thinking, is there an opportunity? Would people over 65 be willing to come back and be part, split, where you're semi-retired, still have,
Did you say
mentally
55
you're
or
saying this just is not a
65
good.
is the mandatory retirement age.
I wouldn't think that I would want somebody
I
at
mean, do
age
we want,
65 coming to my school that's
No
on.
offense, but yeah, like a 72. I mean,
That's just
that
my
I would
opinion.
consider
Okay.
the effectiveness. of
Physically,
that.
and even to be in this role, you still, you would have to be hired by the police department.
Right.
According to our insurance. And then also, with that, you have to pass their physical agility.
Right.
If you've been out for so long. And so at that age, are they going to be able to even pass the physical agility? So that's another thing we have to keep
You're
in
trying to
mind.
make fun of people that are 65, right?
I'm so close, I don't even want to be
I
there.
am. I'm there. I understand.
Okay.
Well, that's
Thank you,
good
sir.
to,
Thank you for the clarification.
All right.
Okay, so Tom, you kind of had a list from this,
And
and I think we're kind of in agreement. Are we in agreement? Is that
Yeah,
they're all,
an action?
the ones that I would recommend would match up perfectly with what you guys talked about last month with the IASB
Okay.
recommendations.
Yeah, let's do that we're on item 8, but it is done as an action item, so I guess we would need a motion
Motion.
for that.
to approve the following legislative priorities.
Well, yeah, or just like follow Tom's recommendation.
So motion.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so Freed made a motion to follow Tom's recommendations for
Yeah.
our SAI.
To make them ours, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, motion by Freed, second by Patty. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then we'll follow up about who you want to see next. Item E, discussion of information concerning end-of-year reports for the 22-23 school year.
So yeah, in your package, there's a report designated for each building and goes through enrollment, beginning of the year enrollment, end of year enrollment, special education, attendance, and that kind of information for you, just to kind of see how we progress through the year. This is standard. This is something that's done every year. And more so information for you.
After digesting it all, what's your overall takeaway from this? How are we doing?
Fine. I mean, I can speak from the high school standpoint.
Gotcha.
You know, our numbers stayed strong.
We do have very much fluctuating class sizes, like in every other year thing, don't we?
Yes. So we're going to pick up a larger class coming in.
Cold winter.
Yeah.
Yes. Our open enrollment numbers continue to stay, the same. There's not a lot of fluctuation there, which is a good sign. Free and reduced lunch. Nothing really stands out as like alarming. It's all pretty straightforward information.
8th grade, Mr. Mulaski, since you were the middle school principal last year, 8th grade excused and unexcused absences, what?
I'm not even on that one. Hang on, I gotta find it here.
Sorry to catch you off guard.
And
I know that.
I think as a whole, attendance continues to be a challenge, regardless of the building level, regardless of the grade level. It's just, there's always a handful of kids or families that you have to work a little bit harder to get them to come to school regularly.
And I'm guessing there was like a lot with the littles, but I'm assuming that's, littles catch every, and then siblings bring
especially
stuff
you're looking
home.
at 10 days over the course of a 180-some day school year. Like a stomach bug in the winter and gone a few days in the second semester, that gets to your 10.
Yeah, that one didn't surprise me, but the 8th grade.
I will tell you, it's usually habitual offenders.
Okay, that's kind of what I was wondering.
Yep.
Okay. So not an overall thing. You got a few who struggle there.
And now you get to do them all again and as their freshman.
Well, and I know after from our conversations, I know you've been addressing this. So
Yes.
And now Krista gets to address this.
And then the 8 dropouts for graduation, that's probably going to lead to our reduced graduation rate, right? So what do we as a district do if a student drops out? Do we offer any extra support afterwards, or?
We continue to reach out to them until they age out. We provide the option of assisting them with the GED program.
Okay.
Sometimes they take us up on that, sometimes they don't. But we don't just see ya, it's continue to reach out.
Excellent.
And a lot of times those kids will reach back to us. And it's just a matter of when they're interested in that, keeping them on the hook and hopefully finding a solution that works best for them. Some kids, it really depends on how far they are credit-wise, how many of the credits they have left to retain.
Okay.
But it's never a closed door. And even if once they turn 21, we can't educate them anymore. Assisting them with the HISET and getting in contact with the right people so that they can pursue that and hopefully obtain it.
And then I also noticed 9th grade, the beginning of the year versus the end of the year. Was it kids moving out or 9th grade over here, end of year enrollment 80 versus.
Oh, was that the JMC glitch we had at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's a computer, a record keeper. Okay. Thank you.
Just information for you guys.
Thank you.
So that 8th grade, that's a lot of kids.
Uh-huh.
So we got the science rooms done just in the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Because
Well,
it's
and then
awfully tight without that.
Oh, that extra hallway, yeah.
And looking at their IEP numbers, I mean, percentage-wise, I mean, for even having that large of class, their IEP percentage isn't. Any other questions concerning end of year reports? I didn't know that the first grade class was that small.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're just a little bit smaller group. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
about 75, 76, right? Yep. Yep, just a little bit smaller group, but
But because that class ahead was
yeah.
so much bigger that we had 5
Yep.
sections for
Yep.
kindergarten first grades.
Yep.
And then second grade went back down to 4. But, okay. Thank you. You guys keep putting that together. Item F, discussion of information concerning back to school carnival, Thursday, August 17th.
I'm going to let Mr. Christensen talk a little bit more about that because this will be my first.
Yes, yes. So it'll be, I don't even know how many years this is, but yeah, it'll be our back to school carnival partnering with Seasons, Thursday, August 17th, 5 to 7. Rain date will be Monday the 22nd from 5 to 7. For those listeners or anyone here, if you've never been to it, come out. It's a great time for the kids to get to interact with each other, get to see their teachers, their friends. We're excited this year to also partner with Public Health reached out, and they're going to provide some, we're hoping maybe some dental information screening, some immunization things. They're going to have some different information for families as well at our back to school carnival night. And then I'm in the process of contacting all our sponsors we've had in years past, and just like always, everyone's more than willing to help out. And it's just a fun way to start the kind of tail end of the summer to get them excited for the school year. So, yep.
Okay, very important question. Who's all doing the dunk tank?
Haven't been told yet.
Okay.
Board president.
I mean,
I was thinking,
well, I did.
there's a nice admin team right here.
I mean, I did sign.
I would do the dunk tank if we would need someone, but.
I did sign Mr. Reinhardt up for Mrs. Lingenfelter. Dr. Lingenfelter painted faces last year. That was her contribution, so I thought that was right up Mr. Reinhardt's alley.
I'm just going to say nobody wants to see that. I'm sorry, I was never with artistic ability, so.
But no, it's a.
Luckily, they're elementary students, so they move around so much.
In a pinch, I could work something out. There's got to be somebody better out there.
But no, it's a really great event, and I hope as many of you can attend as possible. It's really fun. So.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's snacks, which my kids
Yes.
love.
Plenty of food.
Popcorn.
Plenty of food. Yes.
Big giant popsicles.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. All right, anything else for on back to school carnival? Okay. Well, we are going to go into closed session for superintendent evaluation. Either Iowa section 21.5 and 1I to evaluate. Mr. Ryan. Any evaluation, quarterly evaluation.
12 days in.
I know.
I prefer to go to pre-bound.
Yes, it's pretty bad. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
You just don't want to do the dunk tank because you know the baseball team will come up.
Oh, yes, but we get a lot of high schoolers to our
They come to the elementary meeting. I mean, the high schoolers that I
I can get on.
No, that
Oh, yeah.
No, we're talking behind in the. Oh my gosh, you can do the stuff. Oh, David. Bring in a little cold water.
Hey, you know what? I'm sure the police department has a class of like that.